this fine? Yeah, okay. So thanks a ton. We'll, before I start off on Shunya Agritech, let me just share with you guys, because you guys are looking at sustainability. So I'll share with you 3 principles that I've kept for myself when looking at any of the business models. And yeah, this is my 6th startup. So I have run through multiple kinds of models and have a fair understanding of what would work, what would not. Number 1 issue on sustainable business models is that you need to make them profitable. A non-profitable, whether sustainable or otherwise, a business model that then depends on pilots, will depend on grants, etc., whereas its scalability becomes an issue. And my personal belief is that I don't think there is a business model that cannot make money. So we will spend some time looking at not just Shunya, but also the previous organization that I had created, which Reliance bought us out, but how did we really make money on that? The second principle really is that all of you are familiar with locusts as an insect. There is a business model, very efficient business model that locusts as a group follow. And then there is a honeybee, which you are very, very familiar with. There's an entirely different business model that a honeybee follows. All of us understand that a farmer or anyone else would love a honeybee versus a locust. So when creating a sustainable business model, you need to think whether you're acting like a honeybee or you're acting like a locust. And look around, I mean, you'll see enough models that are going around. Some of them are really very interesting business models, but they might be destroying a whole lot of ecosystem. So a sustainable business model needs to really energize the ecosystem rather than destroy it. And the third really is this bottom of the pyramid. In almost every category, there would be a bottom of the pyramid. In Shunya, we look at the small dairy farmer at the bottom of the pyramid. In the earlier organization, we used to look at the Kirana store, bottom of the pyramid. The problem, I think, with a lot of us sitting in rooms like this in conferences is that the Kirana store is a bechara, and so is the dairy farmer. Right? So when we start building business models, we are kind of saying, hey, somehow, we'll do good for you, you just do what you're doing, stay in the same mud house, you stay in the same area that you are. Your aspirations don't matter. Right? The sustainable business model needs to look at a Kirana who's actually thinking that he is Mr. Biani of his area. Right? And you need to build a business model where you help him grow his aspiration and his families. Right? So before I get on to this, the last business model that I think the lady talked about is where we had digitized Kirana stores. Right? So the humble Kirana stores, there's about 28 million of them, small businesses across the country. Today, a lot of them under stress. About 15 years back, we said that what does this guy really need? In a digitizing economy, he actually has almost everything that an Amazon does. Right? He has a store, he can keep stuff, he can distribute that within the neighborhood, etc. And he doesn't want to make billions, he wants to make a few lakhs. What he's lacking is technology. So if I can give him simple tech that he can manage both in stores, Usame ONDC was unfortunately not there. But if I can help him to manage his own stores and I connect him to the neighborhood, which can then select a store, place the order, see what's in the inventory, and this guy does the delivery, everyone's happy. And we have not destroyed the ecosystem. So the Kirana makes more money, the customer gets his service quicker, the FMCG company is happy, so it works well. We were acquired by Reliance. Most of you know that initiative now as JioMart. And the one that you don't know is JioMart Partner. JioMart Partner, when I left, had about 20 lakh retailers who were on our app. We used to do 1,000 crores of business a month. And it was profitable for Reliance, while it was also profitable for the small Kiranas. Right? So I believe that that's the ecosystem that needs to be built. If you're really looking at building a business ecosystem, then you need to, make money yourselves and let your ecosystem make money. Only then sustainability can really be done, which is what we are trying to do. I'll not bore you too much with too much of a technical stuff on what we do with fodder, but I'll show you some images because I think when we were in the boardroom, there was a lot of discussion around hydroponics, which seems to be the new fancy word around. So I'll spend 2-3 minutes trying to show you what we mean by hydroponics and how we do it in an Indian context. But importantly, before we get there, I hope you guys realize New Zealand has a large GDP. Anyone knows how much? Before you Google it, it's about $300 billion. India's milk industry is bigger than New Zealand's GDP. Right? Just the milk industry. If I add the meat industry, which is where the goats and sheep come in, then we would add an Oman to it as well, and we'd still be bigger. So it is that large a segment, right? Can I see the deck? All right, so what we are doing really is, and I thought FMCG, e-com, new commerce was a tough piece. Trust me, milk is tougher. Fodder is even tougher, but it's fun, right? If you're doing a startup, you might as well pick up something like Mrs. Chauhan did, or something which is really, really, really tough, fir maja aayega. Otherwise, what's the point in replicating what has already been done in the US and bringing it and coding it in Hindi, right? Doesn't make sense. What we are doing is to look at increasing farmer incomes by 20% and trying to do that in about 3 months of you joining the network, right? And this is what we are trying to where do I point this? So this is a typical Indian farmer, right? 1.5 to 2 acres of land and about 2 animals, 2 to 3 animals, right? The interesting thing is that the crop income is, more milestone driven. He has to obviously have milk income, which is what really sustains the family, right? Now, this is a gentleman called Babulal, but Babulal is not alone. Across India, there's about 8 crore. So every second rural household is dependent on this. 30% of rural income comes out of milk. It cannot be bigger, right? It is milk on itself is bigger than wheat or rice or cotton or anything else that you put in the that you compare. Now, what is the issue? The issue is Indian livestock is probably the most underproductive in the world, right? So we have a huge amount of assets. As against about 8 liters, what it should be giving as world average, we are at about 4 liters, right? So the asset is there. The farmer loves his asset, but unfortunately is not able to sweat that asset enough. Largely on account of, all of us know this, the animal needs to eat these, green fodder, dry fodder, and concentrates. Because of a unique problem in global south countries, not just India. India has a huge issue on green fodder just not being available. So an all India average of 40% deficit on fodder, largely on account of lack of land, lack of we discussed climate. The other experts are way far more advanced than this. There's a huge amount of problem in rural India where farmlands are just not available. Grazing lands went out of fashion about 10 years back. So animals are no longer grazing, which is what everyone talks about, but that's out. So what happens now? Instead of the method that he should be doing, mostly the farmer ends up feeding more of dry fodder and more of concentrates. That increases his input cost to a point where dairying is no longer a great viable thing that the family should be doing. He's doing it currently mostly for cash flows, right? I'll skip this, but yeah, I mean, huge issue on reproductive and all that. This is the product that we produce. It's obviously the 10x better than anything that the animal has ever eaten, anything that the farmer has ever seen. This is exactly the sprouts, just done on steroids, the one that you would want to eat for breakfast. So the top is what the animal absolutely loves to eat, and the bottom. The disruption that we're doing here is that we're making it available fodder as a service, which means the farmer doesn't need to actually put up anything, etc. He orders it like you and I order Chinese on a Swiggy, with the difference that he subscribes to the fodder. He doesn't order when he wants to, but he's subscribed to the fodder, so every day in the morning, 10 kilos, 20 kilos, whatever he's subscribed for, lands up at his doorstep, right? And that's what lands is absolutely fresh. It is 1 hour out of the growing unit. It just lands up within at his doorstep, which he can feed. The clock's telling me 30, I don't know, is it 30 seconds left? Okay, cool. So we are able to demonstrate to the farmer कि उसे जो पर्ची मिलती है how the fat content goes up when he moves into feeding the animal much better quality, the milk quantity goes up. Now, we make money obviously on this, so we sell the bloody fodder, not the green fodder, to a point where it is, those of you who've done this, it brings us 18% margin, right? But this is a business which you can imagine the quantum of business that we are talking about. And this is not a US model that we are replicating in India. This is an Indian model that we are building for ground up India. So for every 25 villages, we set up a unit which grows using local employees. They grow the fodder, they distribute it within just those 25 villages. That is how the rural economy benefits from the model, not just by the fodder that goes out, but also the guy who produces the fodder. This is a typical unit. That's the kind of fodder growth that you see. Earlier in the conference room, we were discussing whether hydroponics is a viable business, is it economical, etc. Well, every day I grow about 9 tons of fodder and sell 9 tons of fodder at a profit, right? So it is obviously a viable business, not if you follow the US or an Israeli model where they air condition the unit and then they use a lot of electricity and solar lights and so on and so forth, then your model will not work. Right? So it has to be, you have to re-engineer it to get it right. So what we do different is that we have an in-house, a big bunch of PhDs who've done a fair bit of science on how to grow it in Indian conditions, which grain, etc., etc. We built our own production stack, and of course, everything is digitized. I will skip it now, but I'll just show you how a fodder unit, if I'm able to, yeah. So this is how it typically grows. You can imagine doing this at scale. Like I said, it is futuristic, but built on technology that can be replicated across any village in the country, which is what we are doing. We're working with partners to replicate the technology, help them run it in a manner that improves, like I said, the honeybee model. So the farmer in the village, his animal, the ijjat that comes to the, so all of us, I mean, last line, all of us are familiar with that great photograph of women carrying fodder on their head and walking through, right? A quintessential image of rural India. No one really thinks of the pain that that lady or the guy has under that heap, right? And it's an exercise that has to be done 365 days of the year, right? So if you are a lady of the house or a guy who has animal at home, you can be assured your next generation is not going to do dairying, because it is a terrible job, right? Unless the hard part of it is what is delivered to you at your doorstep, right? So that's what we are trying to do. We believe a model on these lines will ensure that the best of tech, so we use AIs, we use MLs, etc., dashboards, blah, 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 but the guy who works with us doesn't need to think that he's just a fodder producer. I mean, does it in a high-tech manner. Obviously, he gets a lot of respect when he's doing that. And of course, it helps big companies like an Amul, etc., to get better quality extracts from the same animals. So overall, that's the model that we are using. Don't want to spend time on this, but a lot of AI and all that, which the deck is there. You guys can pick it up if you so wish.